certainly not at Mar A Lago, as those agents were able to successfully handle that situation, Anna.
All right, News Nation's Joe Khalil, thank you so much for the update. All right, 6 minutes after the hour. Joining us now to talk more, we have former Secret Service agent Donald Lane. Thank you for making the time for us on this breaking news Sunday. Trump is not at Mar A Lago. He's not even in Florida right now. How will that impact how investigators are looking into the suspect's background and his motive in this?
Good to see you, Anna. It really won't impact it at all, whether he's there or not. They're going to do a deep dive into this individual's background, determine what his movements were over the past, few days. I understand that the family reported him missing. So apparently he was en route to Mar A Lago to perpetrate this incident. But they're going to do a full investigation into the background, just as they would any other incident that occurs like this, any other security incident, to determine as best they can who this guy is, what his motives were or could have been. And we should be finding that information out soon, I would imagine.
Yeah, going through his devices, you would imagine, talking to family members, people who've had touch points with him. What does that mix of a shotgun and a fuel canister tell you about this guy's intent?
Well, it tells you it probably wasn't very good. You can always use obviously a shotgun as a weapon. It can be pointed at somebody. You don't know if maybe he was going to light the gas can on fire, try to use it as some type of incendiary bomb, or who knows. It's all speculation at this point, but certainly nothing good would have come out of bringing those two items with him. That's for sure.
Yeah, and again, the president was not there, but there were people there. Mar A Lago is a busy place. There's restaurants and people stay there overnight sometimes even. The FBI did make a request to residents in the area at today's presser. Listen to this.
One thing I would ask the public is, if you live in the area of the shooting, please check your exterior cameras for last night, early this morning. If you see anything that looks suspicious or out of place, please contact us at 1-800-CALL-FBI or contact the West Palm Beach Sheriff's Office.
So Mar A Lago is not far from if we can get those aerial shots up again, not far from other big estates, homes, mansions. You would imagine that there are quite a few security cameras on those properties. What would they be looking for exactly? I mean, I imagine they would be trying to track his movements, but also to make sure, he's not connected to anybody else.
Yeah, I think both of those things are right. First and foremost, they're looking to track his movements. Where was he in the area prior to showing up at Mar A Lago? Did he visit any of these homes? Was he there rooting around, snooping, or just seeing him on the street in a vehicle, perhaps, or on foot? And then also to determine, if there's any other shady characters out there that may be lurking around. So I think it's both of those things.
Well, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent gave his reaction to the incident this morning. Listen here.
I can tell you that the Secret Service is running this so much better now than it was in Butler. New leadership and President Trump and his family, they're safe, but they shouldn't have to endure attempt after attempt.
So he's talking about how just stringent the U.S. Secret Service is in the detail for President Trump. What about members for Congress, too? I think we've got a timeline of political violence that's been happening. It's not just the president that has had 2 attempts on his life. We're not sure if what the motives are in this. It could be a third here. But what's your advice for even public figures and people who are in divisive places, like Congress members, to be watching their back?
Well, absolutely. Typically State Department is going to provide security for members of Congress, but, any public figure at this point really needs to have a strong security presence around them. I think that that's vital. Even, corporations and businessmen, as we saw with the unfortunate incident with the businessman that was assassinated, less than a year ago. So, anybody that's of a high profile nature, whether in politics or not, needs to be aware that, security is extremely important. People want to make statements. They're out there actively doing it. I can tell you that from what I'm hearing, there hasn't been this high of a threat level against the president ever before. So the Secret Service is dealing with a lot of different intelligence and threats. And certainly they've beefed up since Butler, not only the equipment that they use, but the personnel. And so hopefully we'll continue to be able to stop these horrific incidents from happening.
I mean, gosh, you do. It does. It just takes you back to Butler, even though the president wasn't there in Mar A Lago when this happened at 1:30 this morning. You know, when he just turned his head and it grazed his ear. And if he had not turned his head, we may not have him as our president today. Former Secret Service agent Donald Lane, thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet. Thank you.